You said I was holding you here. What happens if I let you go? I'm gone. Went Up the Hill was written and directed by Samuel Van Grieving and written by Joria Nast. Check out the respective IMDb pages for the full list of other work. This features Dacre Montgomery as Jack and Vicky Krieps as Jill. Oh, I see what you did there, Went Up the Hill. That's as subtle as a sack of bricks to the skull. But Jack is the estranged son of a woman that recently passed away, and she was living in New Zealand, and he decides to go there to be there for her wake. He talks to the widow Jill, who he says called her, basically as a way to bring these people together for her final resting place. And the way wakes are done, or at least this particular wake, is basically the body's going to be there for a little bit, sealed, and then it's going to be taken away for cremation. This gives the respective loved ones time to grieve, and even though Jack didn't really know his mother all that well, just from an early age, he's been basically, kind of bouncing around a little bit from home to home, from, relationship to respective relationship and stuff like that. He's been struggling quite a bit. Jill's also been struggling because that was the woman that she was meant to be with and everything. And through all the trials and tribulations and tough times, this is a very tough thing for her. Also, there's a mother's sister, Helen. Good performance by that lady as well. And other than that, we really just get Mr. Montgomery and Miss Vicky leading this whole thing as it's a journey through some weird dream sequences with some nice, allegories for dealing with grief. And as we know, with the famous Grimm fairy tale, Jack and Jill went up the hill to basically deal with their grief. I don't actually think that's what the pail of water was, but maybe it was. I don't really know. But that being said, I was going to go see this movie in theaters. It only got a limited release a number of months ago. I didn't get around to it because I was busy. Time got away from me. I decided to rent it on Amazon because I don't mind slow burn horror movies that deal with family trauma and have, some nice horror elements and everything, and have a way of overcoming this grief. It's a nice way to spin it and everything, tweak it a little bit as it were. And I'm all for trying different things, and while I will say that this movie is not the most wholly original thing I've seen, it's more like a dialed back All of Us Strangers in some aspects, not all. This is much more horror-based, where All of Us Strangers just really made me cry a lot. But Vicky and Dacre, however you say it, Dacre, I could say Dacre, but anyway, Mr. Montgomery, they do pretty well, and they actually are able to elevate this above what it could have been. Again, not a great movie. Has its issues. The slow burn aspect works for the most part. I think that there are times where it stumbles a little bit with its narrative. Also, the dream nightmare sequences get a little bit strained. I think it's about probably 10 minutes longer than it needs to be, even though I understand what they were trying to say. And again, there's nice, pained expressions on the faces of the two respective actors. It's well shot. There are some great, shots of the sweeping landscape. There's a frozen lake nearby. And as we find out more about what happened with the mother, how the mother was, how she probably could have been better, how everybody could have been better, as we find out these characters have flaws, enough of it works that I can basically recommend this movie. It's available on Amazon for a few bucks. But anyway, I'm going to get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, basically, yeah, we got a slow burn here, folks. If you're not a fan of slow burn movies, you probably are not going to like this. I did like the stitched, or the stitching thing, almost like the spindle on a spinning needle, or a spinning wheel thing, where it's like, a tapestry-like thing of the mountains and stuff like that. Nobody really goes up a hill, though. That is kind of the wrong part of this movie. Nobody really goes up a hill. Somebody falls down a hill at one point. But Jack was, claims he was called by Jill. It actually wasn't Jill. It was his mother, because, boom, we have a possession-type movie, where the mother spirit possesses either person, sometimes maybe both, but as a way for them to deal with their grief. Now, the mother ended up drowning in the icy lake. She was in a lot of pain. She had a lot of mental health issues, clearly. And one of the early things she says, when Jill's possessed and we get this weird wailing, moaning thing, is she says to Jack, "They took you from me." And then, you know, we find out more about like Jack dealing with his own stuff, his relationship, strained relationship with his boyfriend Ben. They shot Ben. And we only hear Ben's voice, by the way, but there are some points where Vicky's got like marks on her back and stuff like that, like nail marks. Kind of thinking maybe there was an underlying theme of abuse here. It turns out that the reason that Jack was given away is the sister basically encouraged this happening, partly due to the fact that the daycare called, they found weird marks, and even though the mother tried, the mother was not cut out to basically raise Jack. Even though she loved him, she had her own issues and was just not a stable mother. And that is something that has haunted Jack. That is something that is told through the dream sequences and stuff like that. And Vicky also mentions that if she didn't let her wife hurt her, then she was going to hurt herself. So further proof that the mother wasn't necessarily the best goddamn person. Maybe she didn't mean it, but when you get to where you're, when you're going to hurt somebody that badly or going to hurt yourself, you really need to work on yourself. Jill's upset that she isn't with her, though, because despite any of the problems, she still loved her. It is funny, but there was an interaction between Jack and Jill where Jack talks about a boyfriend. She says, "Oh, runs in the family, huh?" And there's talk of, "Oh, he'll stay until you're ready to come to her." Basically, like, you can't live without me. You are going to come with me. It's a weird allegory for loss, and most of the time it works. There are a few times where I'm like, okay, now it's just kind of stretching itself here. They're both starting to crack up. He fell down the hill, didn't really go up the hill. I mean, I guess he had to go back up the hill to get home. And there's like this super square bathtub that just doesn't look... It's a very lavish modern day home, like ultra modern, but that looks like a super uncomfortable bathtub. Like, good God, if you slip, you are going to hit your head, you're going to hit your feet, that is like so goddamn sharp. It's sharper than a serpent's tooth. But we know about the icy lake, we know about all the stuff going on, and there's a point where, since they're both possessed, they end up, even though he's gay and she's gay, and that's the mother, so that means technically it's partly incest, I guess, spiritual incest. They end up having sex as a way to get close, I guess, or a way for her to be close to her, still alive. Why? I don't know. That was a bit weird. I don't mind. I mean, Vicky's an attractive woman. I just don't know why we needed to do that. But he ends up going to get answers from the sister, finds out all the stuff I said about the daycare. We also see some shots of a kid crying in a shower where, he's like stuck in there and stuff like that because the mother's basically snapping. And then Jack wants to find out what you did to me. The dream sequences again are getting a little strained at this point, a little tiresome. And they end up also kind of hurting themselves. On the icy lake, they kind of end up hurting themselves a little bit. Like, he ends up hurting his arm. She ends up going out on the lake and stuff like that because, she kind of wants to go, she kind of doesn't. And all this repressed trauma is coming back. And there's this one point that's later in the movie where she's speaking this weird foreign language. I don't know what kind of language it is. They do some more reflecting, and with about 15 minutes left or so, she's gone. Here's the problem. We got 15 goddamn minutes left before any credits start rolling, and we are not going to be done there. Jill decides she's going to leave. I kept wondering what was going to happen to the house. Maybe they're just going to sell it. And yes, Helen, the sister, wanted to be there for the ashes being spread, but Jill wanted to do it herself. She probably didn't like Helen, and to be fair, Helen seemed kind of like a bitch. So, I don't know. Maybe she didn't approve of the relationship. Who knows? So Jill's deciding to leave, and Jack's going to end up leaving also, but he starts struggling. It turns out she's not gone. She's still there, and now as far as Jack goes, Jack is fully gone. The mother's there, and dragging her wife out there, basically forcing her out there with rocks in her pockets. She's going to drown her in the goddamn thing in the lake, the icy lake. But she finally just snaps and says, no, you need to leave. Smashes Jack over the head with a rock. He falls in the goddamn ice. You know, you can't stay. I have gotten over you. I've gotten rid of you. Leave us. Leave. Leave us. Not leave me. Leave us. You have to let us go. And then as Jack's pouring into, tumbling into the water or going down the water, she suddenly has a realization, oh shit, I should try being there when, my wife couldn't be. That's a connection to my past and everything, and also a way to help him overcome stuff and help me overcome stuff. She dives in there, and we get the thing about the shower again, where the door opens, and now it's the mother comforting the kid, the comfort he never really got. And now it's, Jill basically saying, I'm here, this kind of stuff, and don't worry, come back, Jack. Now, mind you, they probably got hypothermia at this point, but they're fine. That's it. They've drowned their grief, and now they stumble back to the house, I assume, unless they lock themselves out, to hopefully get warm before they die of hypothermia. That is it. That is Went Up the Hill. It's not a bad movie. It certainly has its moments, has a couple good lead performances. Just a bit strained, I'll say that much, but well done enough. Gets a B. So, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin. Until we go up the hill and down for a pail of water again, happy trails to you.